Hey everyone. Welcome back to Six Path Weeb. Today, we're diving into another thrilling chapter of our fanfic discussion. What if Naruko could fuse with her shadow clones? Part 3. Disclaimer, this channel is purely for entertainment and discussion. I do not own any of the anime footage featured in my videos. All rights and credits go to their rightful creators and copyright holders. Alright, no more waiting, let's jump right in. The situation had intensified far beyond what Naruko had anticipated. The individual who confronted them was none other than one of the legendary seven swordsmen of the mist, Zabuza Momochi, also known as the Demon of the Hidden Mist. Even Kakashi had resorted to using his Sharingan against him, yet he had been outmaneuvered and was now trapped within a formidable technique, water style, water prison. Zabuza's right hand remained fixed, maintaining the jutsu, leaving Kakashi immobilized and unable to escape. With his free hand, Zabuza skillfully formed hand signs, summoning a water clone. I need to free Kakashi-sensei, fast. Naruko thought urgently. She glanced at Sasuke, but he remained frozen under the sheer pressure of Zabuza's presence. Zabuza mocked them, dismissing them as insignificant, claiming they weren't true shinobi until their names were recorded in the bingo book. Naruko took those words to heart. Meanwhile, Zabuza's clone vanished into the mist, using the hidden mist jutsu to obscure his movements. However, it was futile. Naruko's sensory abilities had improved significantly, allowing her to pinpoint his approach. Zabuza lunged forward, aiming a swift kick at Naruko's midsection, but she swiftly ducked, forming hand signs in rapid succession. Taking a deep breath, she spun while exhaling, compressing the air into a razor-sharp blade of wind that struck Zabuza's clone multiple times. "You're a troublesome one," muttered Zabuza as he prepared another water clone. "Sasuke. Take this kunai and throw it at the real Zabuza when I give the signal," Naruko instructed. Sasuke, though reluctant to take orders, sensed that Naruko had a strategy in mind. Meanwhile, she created 10 shadow clones to assist Sasuke while she focused her attention elsewhere. Zabuza's clone systematically eliminated the shadow clones before engaging Sasuke in direct combat. "Any time now, Naruko," Sasuke shouted as he deflected an incoming attack. "Just a moment," Naruko murmured, maintaining her concentration. Then, after a few more seconds, she finally called out, "Now." Sasuke smirked. "Took you long enough," he remarked, hurling the kunai toward Zabuza. However, Zabuza merely laughed and sidestepped it effortlessly. "Is this supposed to be a joke?" he scoffed. Naruko smirked in return. "Not at all," she replied before instantly vanishing, reappearing precisely where the kunai had passed. "This kunai will be your downfall," she declared, rapidly forming hand signs before exhaling a powerful jutsu. Wind style, vacuum great sphere. A large sphere of compressed wind chakra shot toward Zabuza. His eyes widened in shock as he barely evaded the attack. However, in his haste to avoid the technique, he momentarily loosened his hold on the water prison jutsu, just enough for Kakashi to break free. "Naruko. Well done. You all did an excellent job. Now leave the rest to me," Kakashi commended, stepping forward. "How did he get behind me?" Zabuza thought in disbelief. An intense battle of ninjutsu ensued between Kakashi and Zabuza. The speed and precision of their hand signs were beyond anything Naruko had ever witnessed. Kakashi copied every jutsu Zabuza performed, countering him effortlessly. In the end, Kakashi executed the very technique Zabuza had intended to use, predicting his move flawlessly. "That Sharingan. It's like he can see the future," Zabuza thought grimly before Kakashi's attack landed. Can you really see the future?" Zabuza questioned as he was struck by several kunai. "Yes. And I foresee your defeat," Kakashi responded. Just then, multiple senbone needles pierced Zabuza's neck, rendering him motionless. Team 7 and Tazuna turned toward the source of the attack, a figure clad in mist Anbu attire. "Thank you. I have been waiting for the right opportunity to deal with Zabuza, and you provided it," the masked individual stated. Kakashi and Naruko approached Zabuza's body to confirm his condition. There was no detectable pulse. He appeared lifeless, yet Naruko couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. "He looks about my age," Naruko mused. Despite their success, she couldn't help but feel inadequate. Despite her sensory abilities, she had failed to detect certain threats in time. The Demon Brothers' ambush, Zabuza's assault, she had been caught off guard too many times. "If only I were stronger." The thought weighed heavily on her mind as she clenched her fists. Kakashi, noticing her frustration, reassured her. "Naruko, You did an excellent job. Don't doubt yourself. The mist Anbu retrieved Zabuza's body, offering a brief word of thanks before vanishing in a blur of movement. Silence fell over Team 7 until Tazuna spoke. You must all be exhausted. Come, rest at my home. Alright. Our mission isn't over yet, so let's move, Kakashi instructed. As they made their way forward, Kakashi suddenly staggered, the strain of using his Sharingan finally catching up to him. Before anyone could react, he collapsed. Kakashi-sensei. Naruko, already anticipating this, summoned a shadow clone to help her support him. Together, they carried him toward Tazuna's house. A week later. After 7 days of rest, Kakashi finally regained consciousness. During this time, Naruko had dedicated herself to rigorous training. While Sasuke and Sakura practiced together, Naruko created 50 shadow clones, half focusing on mastering the Flying Thunder God technique, while the rest worked on chakra control and refining her sensory abilities. Despite already possessing excellent chakra control, she sought to elevate it even further. She had set her sights on 2 goals, perfecting the Flying Thunder God technique and developing the ability to sense chakra unconsciously. While her clones trained, the original Naruko helped around the house, assisting Tazuna's daughter, Tsunami. Through this, she even picked up a few cooking skills. However, her interactions with Tsunami's son, Inari, were limited. He seemed distant and unwelcoming toward them. The moment Kakashi awoke, he immediately analyzed the events leading up to his unconsciousness. Connecting the pieces, he realized something unsettling: Zabuza was likely still alive. After explaining this revelation to Team 7, everyone was taken aback, including Naruko, who had personally checked for a pulse. How did I miss that? She berated herself. The stress of their first high-risk mission, the oppressive presence of Zabuza, it had clouded her judgment. Regardless, Kakashi said with a light chuckle, we need to prepare for what's ahead. It's time for some training. Naruko's eyes sparkled with excitement. Being trained by a legendary ninja was an opportunity she wouldn't miss. However, her enthusiasm quickly turned into disappointment when Kakashi revealed their first exercise. Tree walking? Seriously? We already know how to do that, Naruko groaned, feeling let down by her teacher's choice of training. Sasuke and Sakura looked at Naruko in confusion. We? Are you saying you can walk up a tree the way Kakashi-sensei did? Sakura asked, her voice filled with disbelief. A brief silence followed as Naruko realized that her teammates hadn't yet mastered such a basic skill. Without a word, she walked up to a nearby tree, stepping effortlessly onto a branch and standing upside down. Sasuke and Sakura were stunned. Even Kakashi raised an eyebrow before recalling that she had already demonstrated her ability to walk on water as well. How is she doing that? Sasuke thought, feeling both frustrated and impressed. One moment, she seems like an ordinary ninja, and the next, she's pulling off incredible feats like it's nothing. Impressive, Kakashi remarked before explaining the technique to the rest of the team, setting the expectation that they would need to master it as well. As he spoke, he also pondered how best to train Naruko. However, before he could decide, Naruko called out to him. Why do you walk so strangely like that? Kakashi asked, noticing something unusual about her movements. Oh, so you noticed, Naruko replied with a grin. It's because of the chakra weights. They're a bit heavy, but I have to push myself as much as I can. Anyway, I was hoping you could oversee my training for a bit, please. Kakashi was taken aback but also impressed. She's pushing herself to the absolute limit. If not for the healing ability of the 9 tails, her body wouldn't be able to withstand this level of strain, he thought. Giving her a nod, he followed her to her training area. Before Kakashi stood 50 shadow clones of Naruko, all training intensely. He observed that some were working on mastering the Flying Thunder God technique, others were improving their chakra control, and a few were focusing on refining their sensory abilities. How long have you been training like this? Kakashi asked. All week, Naruko answered with a small chuckle. She never ceases to amaze me, Kakashi thought. I take it you've done some research on me, considering you asked for my help with this particular jutsu, he said aloud. Naruko nodded eagerly. Well, I can't actually perform it myself, if that's what you were wondering, Kakashi admitted. But I've seen it in action many times, so I can offer you some advice. Naruko's eyes lit up with excitement. This could be the breakthrough she needed. After receiving Kakashi's guidance, he left her to continue training. While her shadow clones focused on technique, Naruko engaged in intense physical conditioning, steadily increasing the weight she carried. After completing countless laps, she eventually found herself near Sasuke. Completely exhausted, she collapsed onto the ground, breathing heavily. Looking at Sasuke, she suddenly started laughing. Sasuke scowled. "What's so funny?" "Oh, nothing, nothing," Naruko said teasingly. "It's just amusing that Sakura finished before the so-called legendary Uchiha. I expected more." Her words had the intended effect. Sasuke bristled at the remark. "What was that supposed to mean?" he asked, irritation evident in his voice. Naruko, still unable to move, realized she might have provoked him a little too much. "Relax," she said with a grin. "I can help you with your training if you want." "Humph. As if I need help from you," Sasuke scoffed. Naruko rolled her eyes. "You really are stubborn. Look, I know you're focused on getting stronger, but if you want to improve, you need to put all your energy into training, not just revenge. Stop overthinking everything and focus on getting stronger, one step at a time." Sasuke remained silent for a moment before muttering a quiet, "Thank you," quickly turning away to hide his embarrassment. Naruko, feeling her strength slowly returning, got up and resumed her training. As she ran, she continued to increase the weight she carried while allowing Kurama's chakra to help heal her body. "Thanks, Kurama," she said, but there was no response. It seemed the Nine Tails was ignoring her, so she decided to let it go for now. 6 days passed, 6 days of relentless, demanding training. Naruko had been the first to arrive each morning and the last to leave each night. She often trained alone, eating separately from the others, but she had long since grown accustomed to that. Her sensory abilities had improved significantly, and her physical endurance had surpassed even her own expectations, thanks in part to Kurama's influence. However, the Flying Thunder God technique remained a challenge. No matter how much she trained, she couldn't match the speed of the fourth Hokage. "I still have a long way to go," she thought, lying down in exhaustion. Her stamina was completely drained, but her sharpened senses alerted her to a presence nearby. "Don't move," Naruko commanded, gripping her kunai. She spotted someone, a figure who appeared to be a girl, but Naruko recognized them immediately. "That's no ordinary girl. That's the Mist Anbu who took Zabuza away," she realized. "I can't move. If only I had more strength right now," she thought, frustrated at her current state. The figure looked surprised. What?" they stammered, their voice tinged with unease. Naruko quickly changed her approach. If she let on that she knew their identity, she might lose her advantage. Relaxing her posture slightly, she put away her kunai. "Ah, sorry. I thought you were about to attack me," she said with a friendly laugh. The person hesitated before smiling. "Oh, I see. You're a ninja too, huh? It must be exhausting, constantly training like this." "Not really. I'm used to it," Naruko replied casually, all the while tightening her grip on her kunai. "Just a little longer, and I'll have an opening." The stranger noticed her tension and took a cautious step back. Has she figured it out? I should leave before she gets suspicious, they thought. "Well, I've gathered the herbs I needed, so I should get going. Good luck with your training," they said before turning to leave. No, they're getting away. Naruko thought desperately. "Come on, body, move." But it was too late. By the time she regained her stamina, the figure had vanished. She rushed after them, but there was no trace left behind. "Nothing is going my way right now. And I hate it," she thought in frustration. Determined to make progress, Naruko released all her shadow clones and chakra weights. She created 100 new clones, instructing them to focus solely on mastering the Flying Thunder God technique, while she herself adapted to her strengthened body. The following evening, Naruko made a rare decision: she would take a break. She knew a battle was likely approaching and didn't want to be worn out when the time came. Arriving at Tazuna's home earlier than usual, she sat at the dinner table, her body covered in dirt and bruises from her intense taijutsu training. "Oh, Naruko. You're back earlier than usual," Kakashi noted. "Yeah," Naruko said tiredly. A few moments later, Sasuke arrived as well, looking equally exhausted from his own training. Sitting across from Naruko was Inari, Tazuna's grandson. She had noticed him watching her train in the past but hadn't said anything. Suddenly, tears welled up in Inari's eyes. "Why?" he cried. "Why do you keep trying so hard? No matter how much you train, you'll never be able to defeat Gato." Naruko remained silent, watching him carefully. "Gato is too strong," Inari continued, tears streaming down his face. "No matter how hard you try, the weak will always lose to the strong." Naruko clenched her fists. "I'm not weak," she said firmly. "And I will defeat Gato." "You don't understand. Hope is pointless," Inari shouted. "You don't know what real pain is." Naruko's expression darkened. "Sitting around and crying won't change anything," she said. "Unlike you, I'll keep trying, no matter what." "Naruko, that's enough," Sakura said gently. Naruko observed for a moment before standing up and stepping outside. She felt overwhelmed with frustration, and at that moment, only training could help clear her mind. Determined to improve her taijutsu, she created multiple shadow clones to spar with, pushing herself until her body could no longer keep up. Eventually, exhaustion took over, and as soon as she realized Kakashi had spoken with Inari, her body gave in. Unable to stand, she directed her shadow clones to carry her to the bedroom so she could rest. The next morning, Kakashi, Sasuke, Sakura, and Tazuna made their way to the bridge. Naruko had pushed herself beyond her limits, and Kakashi decided to let her rest for the day. When they arrived, an unsettling sight awaited them. Their co-workers were lying unconscious. Before they could react, a thick mist engulfed the bridge, making it clear that trouble had arrived. Meanwhile, Naruko awoke abruptly, sensing something amiss even in her sleep. Her training had sharpened her awareness, allowing her to detect disturbances even while resting, though not as effectively as when she was fully awake. The moment she gained clarity, a loud noise echoed from downstairs. Recognizing the sound of a blade slicing through the door, she wasted no time rushing down. Upon reaching the scene, she saw Inari standing in front of two men attempting to take his mother, Tsunami. Just as Inari prepared to charge forward in an attempt to protect her, Naruko quickly stopped him. In the blink of an eye, she dashed toward the intruders, using her speed to disarm them and render them unconscious within moments. "That was amazing," Inari exclaimed in awe. Naruko grinned and playfully fist-bumped him. "You were brave too, Inari. You were ready to take action," she said with a proud smile. Inari nodded, feeling a sense of accomplishment. However, tears began to well up in his eyes. "Huh?" Naruko tilted her head slightly, noticing his expression. Inari tried to hold back his tears, wiping them away repeatedly, but they kept falling. "I'm sorry. Even though I promised myself I wouldn't cry. You're going to call me a crybaby again, aren't you?" he said softly. Naruko shook her head and smiled. "That's not true at all. It's okay to cry when you're happy," she reassured him. After a brief moment, she added, "Inari, about what I said yesterday. I take it back. I was wrong." Inari wiped his tears and gave a small smile. "No. Thank you," he said, allowing his emotions to flow freely. Naruko smiled warmly before turning serious. "All right then, I need to go help my teammate," she stated, shifting her focus. She then concentrated on the special kunai that Sasuke had obtained from her during their previous battle against Zabuza. Sasuke had kept it, trying to uncover the secret behind Naruko's teleportation technique, though the mystery still remained unsolved. At that moment, Sasuke was engaged in combat with the masked figure who had previously disguised himself as a mist Anbu. Since Naruko had already warned them about this opponent, they were prepared. Sasuke clashed with the masked individual, but Sasuke's speed gave him the upper hand. He evaded every attack with ease. With a burst of speed, Sasuke appeared behind his opponent as if he had teleported, delivering a powerful kick that sent him backward. "Haku, if you continue like this, you will be defeated," Zabuza warned. "Understood," Haku responded, forming a hand sign. Suddenly, ice began to materialize around Sasuke, shaping itself into mirrors that encased him within a dome. Trapped inside, Sasuke watched as Haku stepped into one of the mirrors and launched a barrage of senbon needles. Reacting quickly, Sasuke shielded his head with his arms, bracing for impact. Kakashi attempted to intervene, but Zabuza blocked his path, preventing him from assisting Sasuke. Sasuke anticipated the senbon striking him, yet the expected pain never came. Instead, he heard the distinct sound of metal clashing. Lowering his arms, he was taken aback to see Naruko standing in front of him, having deflected the attack with her kunai. "Naruko?" Sasuke exclaimed in shock. He was about to ask how she had arrived so quickly but then glanced at the kunai he had taken from her, realization dawning upon him. Naruko stood with two of her special kunai in hand, while the ground around them was littered with deflected senbon. Naruko scanned her surroundings, realizing she was encircled by reflective ice mirrors. Her opponent moved between them at astonishing speed, launching senbon with remarkable precision. Though the attacks were relentless, Naruko could track the movements. Kakashi was engaged with Zabuza, leaving Naruko responsible for overcoming this formidable adversary. If it's just frozen water, then I'll handle it, Sasuke declared, swiftly forming hand seals before unleashing a fireball jutsu. The flames struck the ice, melting some of it, but the effect was minimal. Water dripped down from the mirrors, yet they remained intact. Haku continued his relentless assault, and Naruko struggled to protect both herself and Sasuke. Something felt off, her body was sluggish, as though restrained by an unseen force. Despite her best efforts, she couldn't move as freely as she wanted. The attacks came from every direction, making it increasingly difficult to defend herself and Sasuke. Thinking quickly, Naruko created several shadow clones to shield Sasuke and divert Haku's attention. Meanwhile, she desperately tried to analyze both her opponent's weakness and the strange weight holding her back. Haku swiftly neutralized all the clones, including the one shielding Sasuke. The battlefield was shrouded in thick mist due to Zabuza's interference, making visibility even worse. Naruko frowned. This situation was far from ideal. She attempted to destroy the mirrors with a punch reinforced by chakra, but they regenerated almost instantly. Determined, she summoned more clones to press the attack while Sasuke continued his fireball jutsu. Their combined effort began to overwhelm Haku, forcing him to defend against their relentless barrage. Amid the chaotic battle, Sasuke managed to land a hit, striking Haku's leg with his fireball jutsu. Seizing the opportunity, Naruko devised a plan. Dispelling all her clones, she dashed toward Haku, mirroring his rapid movements. Sasuke observed in shock. Naruko was moving at an incredible speed, even faster than he thought possible. However, Naruko felt frustrated. She knew she could be even quicker, yet something was holding her back. Why does my body feel heavier? It keeps getting worse. What's happening to me? Naruko thought, gritting her teeth. Her strategy was to tire Haku out, forcing him to exhaust his chakra and stamina. But before she could execute it fully, something unexpected happened. Haku suddenly redirected his focus. Ignoring Naruko, he turned his attention to Sasuke, launching a flurry of senbon straight at him. Naruko's heart pounded. She had let her guard down. Pouring all her remaining chakra into her legs, she sprinted toward Sasuke, determined to shield him. But she was too slow. She should have been faster. That's when realization struck. Her own training had hindered her. For weeks, she had pushed her body beyond its limits by using heavy weights, forcing herself to build speed. Though the training had improved her agility, her muscles still remembered the strain, unconsciously restricting her movements. The after-effects of overexertion lingered, slowing her down when she needed to be at her best. She watched in horror as Sasuke was struck by a barrage of senbon, collapsing to the ground. Naruko clenched her fists as frustration and regret consumed her. She had failed to protect him. A deep, fiery energy surged within her. Thick smoke swirled around her, and an intense heat radiated from her body. A powerful aura of chakra erupted, cracking the ground beneath her feet. Her normally bright blue eyes turned a deep, glowing red, her pupils narrowing into sharp slits. Her nails and canine teeth lengthened, her hair spiked upward, and the markings on her cheeks darkened and widened. "You'll regret this," Naruko said in a low, fierce voice. The very air around her trembled as her rage reached its peak. "Good, Naruko. Surrender to your anger. I will take action for you. I will ensure justice," Kurama chuckled, attempting to influence her. Naruko's emotions surged as she gazed at Sasuke. A powerful frustration built up inside her, but she quickly caught herself. She was a shinobi, she couldn't afford to let emotions cloud her judgment. Acting out of vengeance was not her way. She had a mission to protect the Hidden Leaf Village, and she would face her opponent not for personal reasons, but because they posed a threat. Regaining control, she steadied herself just as senbon needles flew toward her. However, before they could reach her, something unexpected occurred. The needles halted mid-air, as if striking an unseen barrier, before dropping harmlessly to the ground. Naruko took note of the anomaly but remained focused. Channeling her energy, she launched into action, shattering each mirror one by one before the ice could reform. Her speed had increased significantly, allowing her to dismantle the technique. Eventually, only one mirror remained, leaving Haku with no escape. Focusing Kurama's chakra into her fist, Naruko delivered a decisive strike, sending Haku crashing to the ground. The battle was over. As the mist began to clear, Naruko took a deep breath, feeling a mix of relief and exhaustion. She turned to see her sensei, Kakashi, standing victorious as well. Looking down at her fallen opponent, she made a silent vow, "I will never let my emotions take control of me like that again." Her attention then shifted to Sasuke. Even though they weren't the closest of friends, the idea of losing a comrade weighed heavily on her heart. She clenched her fists, feeling frustrated. Every time a challenge arose, she felt as though she couldn't do enough. Despite her abilities, there was always something holding her back. She was determined to grow stronger, not just for herself, but for those she wanted to protect. Just then, movement in the distance caught her eye. Gato and his mercenaries were approaching. Kakashi prepared to confront them, but Naruko stepped forward. "Leave this to me," she declared with determination. The mercenaries laughed. "What can a kid like you possibly do?" One of them scoffed. Naruko remained unfazed. She had a responsibility, to ensure the safety of the villagers and her team. With swift movements, she engaged the mercenaries, using her kunai to disarm and incapacitate them before they had a chance to react. The battle was over in mere moments, and she returned to her team without hesitation. Though her body was fine, she felt mentally drained. She turned to see Sakura kneeling beside Sasuke, her tears falling. "With this, the mission is nearly complete," Naruko murmured as she stood beside Kakashi. Kakashi observed her closely, sensing the weight of the situation. The first real battle is never easy, he thought. "It's best if we don't tell Sakura what happened," Naruko said quietly, lowering her gaze. Kakashi placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder and nodded in understanding. Suddenly, movement behind them caught their attention. Naruko turned quickly, her heart skipped a beat as she saw Sasuke rising to his feet. "Sasuke?" she exclaimed, a mixture of shock and relief filling her voice. Although they had their differences, he was still her teammate. Seeing him stand again lifted a weight off her chest. As the villagers arrived, led by young Inari, Naruko saw the look of admiration in his eyes. She smiled at him, raising her fist in victory. Inari, inspired by her strength, returned the gesture with a determined grin. With the conflict settled, all that remained was the completion of the bridge. Naruko dedicated herself to training, focusing on perfecting her abilities. A week passed, and the bridge was finally finished with the help of the villagers. Though she had improved greatly in her teleportation technique, she still sought perfection. As Team 7 prepared to depart, the villagers gathered to bid them farewell. "Goodbye, everyone," Naruko said, waving. Inari, struggling to hold back tears, looked up at her. "You can cry, you know," Naruko said with a light-hearted laugh. "I'm not going to cry. You can cry too, Naruko." Inari shot back, his voice trembling. Naruko smiled but remained silent. "If only I could," she thought. With a final wave, she activated her teleportation jutsu, transporting Team 7 back to the Hidden Leaf Village. The villagers stood in awe at their departure. "They're gone," someone murmured. "We should name the bridge in their honor," another suggested. Kazuna nodded. "The Great Naruko Bridge. That has a nice ring to it, doesn't it?" The villagers cheered in agreement. Meanwhile, Team 7 reappeared in Naruko's room, taking a moment to process everything that had transpired. "Wow," they all thought in unison. Their journey was far from over, but one thing was certain: Naruko was ready to keep moving forward, growing stronger for the sake of her village and her comrades. "Impressive, Naruko. You've made remarkable progress with your jutsu," Kakashi praised with a nod of approval. Naruko looked up at him, her eyes shining with pride. She had been training tirelessly, and now, after just a few more weeks of dedication, she knew she would master the technique flawlessly. "How is she so strong? How can she teleport us instantly when it would have taken us hours of running?" Sasuke thought, his mind racing. He had a goal, one he was determined to achieve no matter what. But before he could reach it, he had to surpass a major obstacle standing in his way. That obstacle was Naruko. "Anyway, you all should get some rest while I report to Hokage-sama. Especially you, Naruko," Kakashi advised, earning an acknowledgement from the team before they dispersed. Naruko returned to her room, lying on her bed as she reflected on everything that had happened. Lately, sleep had been a struggle. Every time she closed her eyes, the faces of those she had faced in battle seemed to linger in her thoughts. She had to find a way to make peace with it. "I am a shinobi of the Hidden Leaf. My duty is to protect my village. I will become the strongest ninja, someone the village can always rely on," she reassured herself. Repeating these words gave her a sense of purpose. 2 months passed, and Naruko continued her intense training. Her team had completed several C-rank missions, which mainly involved handling small threats like bandits, nothing too challenging. During this time, she and Sasuke developed a mutual understanding. Despite their differences, they found common ground. Both had grown up without parents, both had been judged by others, and both were determined to prove their worth. Their casual conversations soon led to training sessions together, and Sasuke quickly realized that Naruko's progress was extraordinary. He needed to work even harder if he wanted to keep up. Throughout these months, Naruko focused on perfecting her teleportation technique, the Hiraishin, while also increasing her speed and strength. After a month of rigorous effort, she mastered the technique. But she wasn't satisfied, she wanted to push her limits further. To do so, she aimed to enhance her red lightning mode, hoping it would grant her even greater speed. Though she had made improvements, it was still far from the level of the Raikage's technique. While experimenting with both abilities, Naruko devised a new strategy, infusing the teleportation formula with lightning chakra. This way, whenever she teleported, the energy left behind would disrupt an opponent's movements, creating an opening for her attacks. It was an innovative technique that would make her combat style even more efficient. On her rest days, she dedicated time to improving her taijutsu, training with increasingly heavy weights to strengthen her endurance. She had been so engrossed in her training that she had almost forgotten about her young rival, Konohamaru. One day, after completing a mission, Naruko was walking through the village alongside her team. Sasuke had already left, and Kakashi had gone to report to the Hokage. Just as Naruko was about to head off, she sensed a familiar presence nearby. "Oh, Konohamaru," she greeted with a smile. In front of her was a poorly disguised cardboard box, shaped to resemble a rock. A moment later, Konohamaru emerged from underneath it. "As expected from my rival," he declared proudly. Beside him stood two of his friends, a boy and a girl around his age. Konohamaru wore gray shorts and a yellow shirt with a red hidden leaf emblem. To his right was Udon, a boy with short brown hair, dark eyes, and round glasses. Naruko noticed that, as always, a small drip of snot hung from his nose, yet he never seemed to mind. He was dressed in a simple blue zip-up shirt and brown pants. On Konohamaru's left was Moegi, a cheerful girl with bright orange hair tied into two large pigtails secured with red elastics. Her outfit consisted of a red tank top over a pink shirt, paired with gray pants and standard ninja sandals. Naruko had encountered them before and had even joined in their ninja games on occasion. While she hadn't been particularly fond of the game, she could see how much fun they had, so she played along. "Hey, you guys," she greeted. "You really are the best, leader. You noticed us so quickly," Konohamaru said with admiration, while the other two nodded enthusiastically. Naruko chuckled lightly. She didn't mind being called their leader. "Thanks," she replied. Konohamaru was about to continue speaking when he suddenly noticed someone behind her. "Hey, leader. Is she your?" He smirked as he pointed. Naruko turned around and immediately understood what he meant. "Sakura? No, not really. She's just my teammate, I guess," she answered. Konohamaru glanced between Naruko and Sakura before remarking, "Well, she does have a pretty noticeable forehead. I can see why you wouldn't." Before he could finish, Naruko chuckled and warned, "You might want to start running." Konohamaru blinked in confusion before realizing what she meant. He turned to see Sakura, her expression furious. Without wasting another second, he took off sprinting, doing his best to escape the inevitable chase. As he looked back to check if she was catching up, he suddenly bumped into someone. "That hurt," said the young man Konohamaru had accidentally bumped into. He wore a loose-fitting black bodysuit with a red and yellow emblem on the front. His attire also included a black hood with cat-like ears, a forehead protector displaying the Sand Village symbol, and distinctive purple face paint. The young man sighed and helped Konohamaru to his feet. However, his demeanor shifted as he suddenly raised his voice. "Watch where you're going, kid," he scolded. Naruko, sensing something was wrong, swiftly moved to the scene using the body flicker technique. The moment she arrived, she overheard the young man addressing Konohamaru in an irritated tone. "A Jinan from the Sand Village? Has the Chunin exams already begun?" It looks like Konohamaru accidentally ran into him, Naruko thought. "Don't start trouble. We'll just get reprimanded later," said a blonde girl standing behind him. She had teal eyes and sandy blonde hair tied into 4 pigtails. She wore a light purple off-the-shoulder outfit extending to mid-thigh, secured with a red sash. Her attire also included fishnet sleeves and leggings, as well as a forehead protector tied around her neck. "Who are these people?" Sakura wondered, standing just behind Konohamaru. "You should let him go," Naruko said, her expression showing clear disapproval. The Sand Jinan holding Konohamaru glanced at Naruko. "A leaf Jinan?" he thought before smirking. "Or what?" He challenged. That kid is Konohamaru, and he's my rival. Let him go, or you'll regret it, Naruko warned, instantly reappearing behind him in a blur. A three-pronged kunai was now resting lightly against his neck. Konohamaru's eyes widened in amazement. So fast. He thought. The female Sanjinan gasped at Naruko's speed and instinctively reached for the large fan on her back. However, before she could react, she felt her wrists being gently restrained behind her. Don't rush, Naruko advised in a calm, steady voice. What incredible speed. And she used shadow clones as well. The girl thought, momentarily stunned. The Sanjinan holding Konohamaru hesitated, feeling the cold edge of the kunai. He was taken aback by Naruko's swiftness and precision. Now, release him, slowly, Naruko instructed. Knowing he had no choice, he complied, lowering Konohamaru to the ground. Good, Naruko said, stepping back with Konohamaru. The young man from the sand clicked his tongue in annoyance but didn't make another move. Meanwhile, the blonde girl beside him found herself studying Naruko. Now that I get a closer look, she's actually kind of cute. That white hair, those blue eyes. She thought, feeling her face warm slightly. Kankuro, the Sanjinan, momentarily forgot about the situation and reached for what Naruko recognized as a puppet wrapped in bandages. Are you seriously going to use Karasu? The blonde girl asked in shock. Before he could respond, another voice cut through the tension. Kankuro, stop it. You're embarrassing our village, a calm yet authoritative voice said. Naruko turned to see a boy with red hair and striking green eyes. His short, spiky hair framed his face, and black markings surrounded his eyes. On his forehead, a kanji symbol for love was carved into his skin. He wore a dark bodysuit with an open neck, short sleeves, and nearly full-length leggings. A white cloth draped over his shoulder, and a leather strap secured the large gourd on his back. So, he's finally making an appearance, Naruko thought. Naruko, that's the one-tails Jinchuriki, Kurama's voice rumbled from within. You'd better not embarrass me. I figured as much. The chakra levels from the sand village were too high for it to be anyone else. And yet, you take pride in yourself while trying to stir hatred in a 12-year-old, Naruko replied internally. You don't understand what it's like to be sealed away for years, Kurama muttered. You're right. Naruko admitted, quieter this time. Funny how you're talkative now when you ignored me before. Just don't lose to him, Kurama added before retreating into silence again. I wasn't planning on it, Naruko thought with a determined smirk. Kankuro, meanwhile, grew nervous. Gee Gaara, they were the ones who started it, he stammered. Gaara's expression remained unreadable. Be quiet, he said, his voice calm but firm. Sorry. I really didn't mean to, Kankuro quickly apologized, his voice shaking. Why does he seem so afraid of him? Naruko wondered. Gaara disappeared in a swirl of sand, reappearing beside Kankuro. Let's go. We didn't come here to cause trouble, he ordered. Without hesitation, both Kankuro and the blonde girl followed him. Wait. Sakura called out, but Naruko gently placed a hand on her shoulder. I know what you're thinking, but let it go for now. I'll explain later, Naruko whispered. Gaara stopped and turned slightly. What? Your name, Naruko said. What is it? Huh? You mean me? The blonde girl asked excitedly. Oh? Sure, you seem interesting too, Naruko replied with a slight smile, sensing something unique about her. Tamari felt her heartbeat quicken. Tamari, she replied, a faint blush appearing on her cheeks. Nice to meet you. I'm Naruko Uzumaki, she said before turning to Gaara. And you? Gaara was mildly irritated by the informal address but answered nonetheless. Gaara of the desert. Tamari tensed slightly, unsure how Gaara would react. What about me? Kankuro asked, but Naruko had already turned away. All right, let's go, she said, motioning to Sakura and Konohamaru. Kankuro clenched his fists but didn't say anything. The next day. The following morning, Team 7 gathered as usual, waiting for their teacher. Naruko was unusually eager, already guessing why they had been summoned. Why does he call us here just to make us wait? Sakura complained. Yo, Kakashi greeted as he finally arrived. Why are you always late? Sakura asked, exasperated. You should be used to it by now, Naruko remarked, earning a look from Sakura. Anyway, this may be sudden, but I have nominated you all for the Chunin exams, Kakashi announced, handing out 3 application forms. If you choose to participate, sign these and submit them to room 301 by 4 p.m. tomorrow. That's all. With that, he disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Alright. I'm going to pass this exam no matter what. Naruko thought excitedly. Sasuke, you better not lose, she said confidently. Right back at you, Sasuke replied with a smirk. Sakura, however, was uncertain about participating in the upcoming exam. During their previous missions, she had noticed the skill gap between herself and her teammates, and she feared she might hold them back. Naruko sensed her hesitation and understood that these exams required the full team's effort, so she decided to encourage Sakura. Don't worry, Sakura, you're strong, Naruko reassured her with a confident thumbs up. Her words carried truth. Sakura's exceptional chakra control significantly enhanced her speed and strength. Sakura smiled, feeling reassured. She couldn't let her teammates down. I will give it my all and succeed, Shanaro. She thought to herself with renewed determination. The following day, as they approached the exam venue to submit their applications, they noticed something unusual. 2 leaf shinobi stood guard, having cast a genjutsu on the door to mislead the participants. A large group of genin had gathered, trying to enter. So this is their strategy to reduce the number of competitors. Thought Naruko. It might be best to leave them be, less competition for us. However, she quickly noticed that Sasuke didn't share her mindset. Such basic tricks. I can't believe so many fell for a simple genjutsu, Sasuke remarked as he approached the 2-leaf ninja. So, you saw through it, one of them responded. Sakura, you noticed it too, didn't you? Sasuke asked, glancing at her. Hi. Sakura replied, blushing slightly at the acknowledgement from her crush. Not bad, but all you did was identify the trick, said one of the ninja as he suddenly lunged forward to kick Sasuke. Before Sasuke could react, Naruko swiftly intervened, stopping the attack. Let's not get carried away here, she said, holding back the attacker. Such speed. Thought the ninja, surprised by the agility of the young genin. Acknowledging defeat, he raised his hands in surrender. You, what is your name? A voice asked. The question came from a genin with long black hair and featureless white eyes. He wore a beige-colored shirt layered over a dull blue one, with mesh armor underneath. His dark brown shorts, blue shinobi sandals, and the bandages wrapped around his right arm, chest, and leg suggested he was a disciplined fighter. His hair was tied back in a loose ponytail. Me? Naruko Uzumaki, she replied. The boy simply looked away, seemingly satisfied with the answer. This is usually the part where you introduce yourself as well, Naruko remarked. Neji Hyuga, he finally responded before walking away with his team. First a Jinchuriki, and now a Hyuga. This exam is going to be interesting, Naruko thought. Naruko, Sasuke-kun, let's go. Sakura called out, signaling them to move forward. I had everything under control, you know, Sasuke muttered to Naruko. Naruko chuckled and continued walking. Hey, you with the white hair. A voice called out. Naruko turned to see a boy with shiny black hair, round eyes, and prominent lower eyelashes. His thick eyebrows and bowl-cut hairstyle made him stand out. He wore a green jumpsuit, orange leg warmers, and a red forehead protector tied around his waist like a belt. His forearms were wrapped in bandages extending to his fingers. Yeah? Naruko responded, looking back at him. Oh, he's the one who just got turned down by Sakura. She thought. Will you have a match with me right here? The boy asked. Right now? Naruko asked, raising an eyebrow. Yes, he confirmed. My name is Rock Lee. I am on the same team as Neji. Alright, I've been wanting to test my abilities against someone my level, Naruko agreed. Excellent, Lee said, taking a fighting stance. Why is it always Naruko? Thought Sasuke, feeling a mix of frustration and curiosity. Naruko charged forward, throwing a punch, but was surprised when Lee effortlessly dodged. She quickly leapt back, realizing that his speed was impressive. I see now. You must be similar to the Leaf's noble green beast. Same outfit, probably similar techniques. I guess I'll have to try harder, Naruko said, increasing her speed. Impressive, Naruko, Lee acknowledged, preparing for her next move. He was surprised by how fast she was. As Naruko closed the gap, she accelerated even more, landing a strong left hook to Lee's jaw. The force sent him flying a few meters back. Lee was shocked. He had considered himself one of the fastest genin, but he was starting to question that assumption. She might be faster than me. thought Lee. Lee quickly retaliated, launching a series of swift punches and kicks. Naruko, however, skillfully dodged and blocked each one. Spotting an opening, she swiftly executed a crescent kick to his face, sending him backward again. How is she so fast? I couldn't even follow her movements. Sasuke thought, taken aback. Oh? You couldn't even react to that? Naruko teased, impressed by her own speed. Hey, Lee said as he got back on his feet. You're really strong, Naruko, but this is as far as you go, he declared, reaching down toward his legs. Lee had been avoiding using his weighted training gear, but he realized he might need to if he wanted to keep up. He's wearing weights? Maybe I should take off my own to match him, Naruko thought. But before she could act, a voice interrupted them. That's enough, Lee, the voice came from a talking turtle. Lee, I told you not to remove them so soon. You shouldn't reveal your abilities so early, the turtle advised, shaking its head. I apologize. I got carried away, Lee admitted, bowing his head. They sure are an interesting group, Naruko thought. You won't get away with just an apology. Are you ready to accept your consequences? The turtle asked. Lee nodded seriously. Then, here comes your sensei, the turtle announced. A puff of smoke appeared on its back, and as it cleared, an older version of Lee emerged. Wow. It's like an older clone of him, but with even thicker eyebrows, Naruko observed. The man, Mido Guy, unexpectedly gave Lee a firm but controlled punch. You must be more disciplined, Lee, he said. Lee quickly stood up, tears streaming down his face. Sensei. He stammered. That's enough, Lee, Guy said, forgiving him. Sensei, Lee cried out, rushing forward to hug his mentor. This is what the power of youth is all about. It's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them, Guy said, patting Lee's shoulder. Sensei, you are too kind, Lee sobbed dramatically. However, you still broke my rules. As a consequence, you will run 500 laps around the training field, Guy declared, giving a thumbs up. Hi, Sensei, Lee shouted enthusiastically, fully prepared. 500 laps? That sounds like some serious training, Naruko thought, recalling her own rigorous exercises. These are Kakashi's students, and one of them pushed Lee so far that he almost removed his weights. Guy thought, impressed. You must be Kakashi's students. How is he doing? Guy asked. You know Kakashi-sensei? Sakura responded with curiosity. Of course, she does. She is considered an equal and a rival to Kakashi, said Naruko, already aware of his reputation. So, you've heard of me? Asked Guy, looking at Naruko with interest. Yes. You are renowned as the strongest in taijutsu, Might Guy. I truly admire your mastery and dedication to the art of taijutsu, Naruko replied sincerely, though she chose not to comment on his unique outfit. Guy laughed heartily. With the spirit of youth, you can become just as strong as I am, he declared enthusiastically, giving them a thumbs up. You should all get going now, he added. Sasuke, Sakura, make sure to keep up, Naruko said playfully, teasing them though she didn't mean any offense. Hey, you better not slow me down, Sasuke responded with a confident smile. He was aware that he hadn't quite reached Naruko's level yet, but he was eager for the challenge ahead. So many skilled opponents. He thought to himself. Oh, so you all made it. Now we can finally begin the exam. Good luck, and give it your best, Kakashi said, smiling with pride at his students. Naruko stepped forward and pushed open the door behind Kakashi. A bright light filled the room as she entered. Inside, numerous Shinan from different villages stood waiting for the exam proctor. This is going to be exciting. So many strong challengers. Naruko thought, filled with anticipation for the competition ahead. Dear YouTube family. That's a wrap for this segment. Stay tuned for more exciting content coming your way. Thank you for your support. Best regards. 6 Path Weeb.